Hi, it's Christopher, aka the Bronze Age Nerd, and welcome back to the top 5 comic books that I wouldn't recommend buying this week. If you're new to the show, I basically do this as a counterpoint to all the top 10 lists that are out there, or the spec lists that are out there. I look through all of them, and I pick out 5 books that I wouldn't recommend buying. All right, so the first book on my list we're going to talk about today is Pirate Queen #1, and this is another bad idea, #1. The story doesn't even sound bad. I don't have a problem with the concept. Here's the thing. The bad idea books are basically a gimmick, and they're fodder for movies and TV shows, and that's good if you're a speculator because maybe it will end up being made into one. But who's to say which of these bad idea properties are going to get picked up? I really doubt that they all are going to get picked up. So if that's the case, how do you know it's going to hit? And with this book seeing, sales right now, $20, $25, it's a brand new book. The reason that it's so high is because a lot of people can't get their hands on these books. As I've talked about in a previous video, I can't personally find bad idea books close to me. I can get them at a couple online retailers, but I can't get them at LCS stores that are even remotely close to me. So I have a hard time signing off on bad idea books in general. And I think this is just another shot in the dark. It's kind of a foolish thing to waste your money on. If you could pick it up for cover price, yeah, by all means, that's totally fine. I'm talking about picking it up on the secondary market where it's going for a little bit more money. Number 4 on my list is Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur #15. This is the first meeting between Moon Girl and Ironheart. Ironheart is obviously a very key character right now that a lot of people are specking on because she's coming to the MCU pretty soon and is going to probably take over and replace Iron Man, of course. So that's a huge role, and a lot of people are speculating on that, and that's totally fine. I'm not hating on anybody that put this on their list. I don't think there's necessarily something wrong with it. I just want to talk about the logic and the reasoning for a second. The reason that this book is on there is because it was a first meeting, and first meetings, we're starting to see some ground gained on those books right now. But really, it's the classic first meetings that really have a huge impact on the market. If you find this book for cover price, there's no reason not to pick it up. If you feel like this is a good spec book for long term and you find it at that cheap of a price, by all means, pick it up. If you're paying into this book because it starts to go up a little bit because it's being presented on a list, that's where I would pump the brakes on this book. I don't see a whole lot of shot of this paying off. It is a book that definitely has a chance to, but most books have a chance to. We've seen that over the last couple of years. But just like TLC in the 90s, I wouldn't go chasing this one too hard. I'd stick to the comics you're used to. Number 3 on the list is America, #12. This is the final issue of that run of America, starring America Chavez, who's another character that a lot of people are specking on right now. Really, the only things about this book that would kind of pop out to me are that it's the final issue, which sometimes those do garner some extra dollars. It definitely can happen. It's also an extremely low print run for a Marvel book, and that is absolutely true. It's under 7,000, which is a very low print run for a regular standard issue of a Marvel book, but it's by no means rare in the modern sense. We see plenty of variants that are limited to a couple thousand that still don't move the needle. And there's not anything else about this book other than the fact it's an America Chavez book and that it had a low print run. The final issue doesn't really move me unless there's some kind of, it's the last issue in a long, G.I. Joe, the final issue of G.I. Joe, Real American Hero, the final issue of Doctor Strange or something like that, something that ran for a long time. I can see that being a big deal. This was a 12-issue run. I don't see the value here. Maybe I'm crazy, but the price has already started to move up, and I definitely wouldn't go after this one. All right, number 2, Ghost Rider #28. This is the first appearance of the Midnight Suns, and this isn't a bad book right now. I think there's actually a really good chance that the Midnight Suns may come to the MCU. There's certainly a lot of people that are speculating on that right now, but this is kind of a timing thing, and a lot of the books on this list that I make end up there because of timing. Right now, that book went up because of a video game announcement, and video game announcements don't generally hold water over the long term. So I don't know why you would chase this book at the slightly inflated price from that video game announcement. If I find Ghost Rider #28 at the right price, I'll definitely pick it up, but I'm not going to go fishing for it this week. And speaking of fishing, I want to talk to you about this week's sponsor. Dangerous Waters Comics and More is a great place to go get toys, comic book supplies, action figures, statues, pre-order your brand new comic books, and pick up some classic comic books as well, graded comic books. They're a new small online comic book shop. I've had nothing but great experiences using this website. I think it's important to support the smaller businesses in our industry, and they're a brand new comic book shop. They're just starting out, And so far, people are really loving what they find over there. If you have any questions or you're looking for something specific, you can message them through their live chat feature. Also, if you're looking for a particular item to come back in stock, you can be notified when it comes back in stock. There's so many great features to go check out over on the website and get a good discount by using the code BRONZE10 at checkout. And remember, at Dangerous Waters Comics and more, you can live dangerously. You know what else is dangerous? Poison. And that brings us to our number one pick, which is Batman 181. Batman 181 is the first appearance of Poison Ivy. Bridget Regan from Paradise Lost and Legend of the Seeker has been cast as Poison Ivy for season 3 of Batwoman. And that's why I don't care about this book. A TV casting, especially for a later season, why buy this book now? This is a perennial key. You can definitely find it listed all the time, and wait for this news to die down and buy it for cheaper. This isn't going to permanently cause the book of this price to increase. In fact, if anything, it'll be a very temporary blip and the worst possible time to buy it. Now, if Poison Ivy were to be cast as coming up in one of the future Batman movies, we'd probably see another spike. But all these long-term established Batman villains, we already know about them. It's not like they're a surprise. It's not like they're some obscure Marvel hero or villain that's going to be turned into the next star. They're basically, blue chips. I don't really love to use that term, but they're essentially blue chip books. So if you were hunting this book, hold off on buying it. Of course, the same rule always applies when it comes to these kinds of books. If you find a good deal on this book, I'm not saying you should pass it up, but I'm just saying don't pay the currently inflated price for it right now. It's the internet, so I'm sure people can't wait to tell me how wrong I am about some of these, and I don't mind hearing about that. I definitely appreciate all kinds of points of view, and I want to hear about what you guys have to say about these books. But whatever you do, just the one advice I like to give is these lists are usually a good time to sell. They're not usually a good time to buy when the books appear on them, so keep that in mind when you're hunting for comics out there. Thanks for watching this video, and I want to remind you, as always, hey. Read comics every day.